loves a good terrarium. They're super simple to make, easy to maintain. They're essentially like living pieces of art. They're so beautiful. I'm going to show you how to do it. For your succulent terrarium, you're going to need some stones for drainage, cactus soil or succulent soil, moss, plants, and your vessel. First, you're going to lay your stones at the bottom of your vessel. This acts as drainage so that your roots aren't sitting in water and essentially rotting. You're going to put about an inch of gravel on the bottom. That's just enough to kind of hold the water from getting up into the moss and the dirt. You can make a terrarium in essentially any vessel that has sort of a nice sphere shape with not too big a mouth, big enough for you to get your plants in, but not so wide that you're disrupting that sort of ecosystem that you've created in your sphere. Good. Next, we're going to lay down a layer of sheet moss. This is a decorative element, but it also helps to hold the succulents in place. The fact that we can see through this antique glass and we're seeing the different layers of what we've put down, the stone, the moss, it's like a trifle. It's a trifle of plant love. Next, you're going to add your soil on top of your sheet moss. You'll be using a succulent soil, and just make sure that whatever plant you're using, you're always using the appropriate soil. Next, you'll add in your Spanish moss. The Spanish moss is just an added textural element, and it acts especially as a sort of web of love for you to cradle your succulents in. The Spanish moss finishes it off so beautifully. Now it's the fun part. You get to add your plants. And this is really an opportunity for you to get creative. There are no rules, so you can really play, choose the plants you love, and just start adding them in. Don't be afraid when you're removing the soil from your succulent to get right down to the root base. It'll reroot when you plant it in your new medium. As you place them, be mindful of how it will look when you're looking at your beautiful terrarium. So you can spin it, check and see the relationship to each other. Some of the succulents will complement one another if one's leaf shape is very round and one is pointy, different heights. So you might put something taller in the middle and then the shorter succulents around. Again, it's your art. Enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, it probably won't look very good. That's my rule of thumb. Succulents are so easy to take care of. They hold all of their moisture in their leaves, so they're essentially watering themselves. Because you're making a succulent terrarium, you want to make sure that this isn't a closed terrarium. You want to have lots of airflow. You don't want things to get too moist or too humid. Succulents naturally like a drier environment, so we have to be mindful of that. The last plant to go in is the air plant. Air plants are so cool because they don't require soil. They are the root system. I don't think there's an easier plant to take care of. They get their nutrients from the air. What? You can take an air plant and just hang it in a beautiful glass vase. It doesn't require any planting. They are so easy to care for. They look cool. They almost look extraterrestrial. I just cannot say enough about these amazing plants. I like to finish off my terrarium with a cool trinket or a treasure, something that holds some emotional value for me. It's just another added element that makes me love it even more. So you can choose something that's meaningful to you. I've chosen crystal. Have fun with it again. Just choose something that means something to you. Once you have everything in place, get your trusty water bottle, give the whole thing a little spritz. Some people might argue that a succulent isn't the appropriate plant for a terrarium. I think it's just really important to note that succulents don't like to be overwatered. So in the event that your terrarium is getting very moist, you want to stop watering it, let it dry out a bit. Succulents hold all of their moisture in their fleshy leaves. I love using succulents because you don't have to water it as much. The lightest spritz and you can leave it for a couple of weeks, even a month, and it will really kind of self-maintain. With your air plant, you can take this right out of the terrarium, maybe once every few weeks, and submerge it 30 minutes, take it out of the water. It's good to go for another 2-3 weeks. Some air plants like to be spritzed as well with water. Find out which variety you have. This terrarium is a fine balance. You don't want to overwater your succulents and you don't want to underwater your air plant. This terrarium can last. How good are you at keeping plants alive? I knew a woman who inherited a terrarium. It was 30 years old. That's older than me. The antique glass pickling jar is such a perfect choice for a terrarium with a nice wide mouth. It's got tons of room in there for so many different plants. I love the juxtaposition of the hard stone against the soft moss. And then the layer of dirt. It's like a trifle. It's a trifle of plant love. The succulents themselves are all so interesting and different. The different leaf shapes, the colors, they just look so beautiful together. The air plants, they're such a cool element. They look almost prehistoric. The crystal in here is just the perfect way to finish it off. It just pops. I think you're gonna love making this. I think you're gonna really sink your teeth into this succulent plant adventure. And you're gonna be really proud of yourself when you're done. How good does this terrarium look? I mean, it looks so good. What does it make me wanna do? It makes me wanna dance. Yeah. Rock a mic like a candle, light up the stage and watch you jump like a vandal. Dance.